Welcome back to CBS News 24/7. All right, there he is. Luigi Mangione arrested in connection with the killing of a UnitedHealthcare CEO. He's showing fight, as you can see right there, outside a courtroom and then inside a courtroom. Here's your headline. Mangione fighting extradition. So he faces that New York charge of murder, but getting him to New York is going to take some time while he fights. Now, inside a hearing, a Pennsylvania judge told Mangione he's not going to get bail. Live to CBS News legal analyst Jessica Levinson. Jessica, fighting extradition really bumps the timeline back a little bit, pumps the brakes, so to speak, on New York. Tell us about the mechanism it will take to get him across state lines.
So the governor of New York is going to have to sign a extradition warrant, and this is going to take some time. I think the way you phrase this question is exactly right. It's a bump in terms of time, but I think the important thing to remember is nothing else. I think this will happen. There will be an extradition. What he's indicating is that he's going to fight at every step of the way. The prosecutors in the hearing said, basically, if you want us to go through this process, we will. We're happy to file the paperwork, but we all know where this is going to end up. And I tend to agree with that. It's
going to go to New York in the end. Well, I've got to ask you about Mangione's attorney. He says he sees no evidence that Mangione is the shooter, despite the fact that there seems to be so much video evidence that prosecutors will use all over New York. Is this sort of an expected salvo by the defense?
Here it is. Now we have it. This is the likely defense, which is not it. Even though there is obviously a lot of evidence in terms of what the police officers found on Mangione in his backpack when they arrested him, even though there's the video of him at the hostel, which ultimately helped to lead to the arrest. I think the defense here is going to be not it. Prove that in the video of the killing, that is truly him. Now, is this a great defense given all of the other evidence? Maybe not. It's not for us to prejudge at this moment, but sometimes there isn't always a great defense. That happens actually a lot. It doesn't mean that this case won't go to trial. If there's no offer that Mangione wants to take on the table, this case will go to trial potentially without a good defense.
If you're the prosecutor, what do you see as the strongest piece of evidence then, Jessica?
So, honestly, I think it's everything all together. And I think that's what the prosecution will emphasize, that they don't have to rely on any one thing, that they can rely on the video of the killing, the video at the hostel. They can rely on the false documents, the false identifications that were found with Mangione, the apparent ghost gun, the silencer, the manifesto. I know somebody out there will say, it's this, that's the key piece. I actually think it's all of it together.
Jessica Levinson, thank you. All right, and adding to that, we have some breaking news coming out of that conversation with Jessica Levinson. This comes from Pat Milton, senior producer for the CBS News Investigative Unit. 3 people with knowledge of the investigation into Mangione tell CBS News that fingerprints found on that water bottle that we've been talking about throughout this entire broadcast at the crime scene match the fingerprints that have been taken from Luigi Mangione at the time of his booking in Pennsylvania. So a couple of revelations there. Lilia Luciano had mentioned that we had not heard for sure what kind of information had been taken by Pennsylvania authorities, be it DNA, fingerprints, etc. Now we know that they took fingerprints in Pennsylvania, and they've been able to match those fingerprints once again to that water bottle found at the crime scene. Why is this important for prosecutors? Because it places Luigi Mangione, this will be their argument, it places him at or near the scene of the crime. So add that to the evidence that now prosecutors have, and that Mangione's defense team, because he is still considered a suspect here, Mangione's defense team will now have to fight an uphill battle against yet another piece of information.